Have you ever wondered why you can always find your favorite drink at the store, but that one hot toy is just gone everywhere before the holidays? Well, that's not luck, and it's not magic. It's something called supply chain strategy. It's basically the hidden brain behind every single product you buy. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on this invisible force that decides which companies win and which ones, well, can't even get their stuff on the shelf.
Okay, let's kick things off with a real-life corporate thriller. Picture this. A single factory fire breaks out and it cripples two of the biggest phone companies on the planet. Both of them depend on this one factory for a tiny, crucial chip. But in the aftermath, one of these companies skyrockets to dominate the market, while the other starts a long, slow, painful slide into near irrelevance. How does that happen? The answer to that question is really the key to understanding modern business strategy.
But before we can solve that mystery, we really need to understand the playing field. What in the world is a supply chain strategy anyway?
Right, so it's not just one big decision. It's more like a cascade of choices all flowing into each other. At the very top, you've got the strategic level. This is the big picture stuff, asking massive questions like, where on earth are we going to build our factories? Then that flows down to the tactical level. All right, who are our suppliers going to be? How much stuff should we keep on hand? And then all of that boils down to the operational level, the day-to-day grind of delivery trucks and figuring out the exact moment to reorder. Every single level has to be in sync.
So if strategy is happening on all these different levels, how do the best of the best manage it all? Well, they don't just write up a plan and stick it in a binder. No way. They have a dynamic framework that's actually designed for chaos. They call it the TripleA supply chain.
And why do they need something so dynamic? Well, it's because of this one fundamental problem that every single business on the planet faces. Can we predict the market with perfect accuracy? The answer is a hard no. Customer demand can just explode overnight, or a key supplier can just vanish. A static plan, a rigid one, it just shatters into a million pieces when reality hits.
In the solution to that chaos, the answer is a framework that's built on three incredibly powerful pillars: agility, adaptability, and alignment. Now, these aren't just corporate buzzwords. These are the real-deal capabilities that literally separate the winners from everyone else.
So first up, we've got agility. The best way to think about this is like your supply chain's reflexes. It's all about being able to react and react fast to sudden short-term shocks, like a huge unexpected surge in demand or maybe a factory fire. Then we have adaptability. Now this one's different. This is about playing the long game. It's not about reacting to a one-time crisis. It's about seeing the big structural shifts happening in the market, because of new tech, a changing economy, new competition, and actually evolving your whole network to match.
And finally, there's alignment. And honestly, this might be the most important one, and it's definitely the hardest to get right. It's all about making sure every single partner, from the guy digging up raw materials to the store selling the final product, is working towards the same goal. It's about getting everyone to pull in the same direction, because when that happens, the whole chain just becomes unbelievably strong.
Okay, so these ideas sound great, right? But what do they actually look like in the wild? Let's start with agility. And to do that, we're going to go back to our story of the two phone giants and the fire that changed absolutely everything. All right, so here's the scene. It's March 2000. A Philips chip factory out in New Mexico catches fire. Now, this one factory makes these critical little radio frequency chips, and that one fire instantly cuts off the supply for two of the biggest players in the mobile phone game at the time, Nokia and Ericsson.
And this moment right here is where we see agility, or the total lack of it, in action. See, Nokia, they had planned for disaster. They immediately flipped a switch on their backup suppliers and managed to get new chips in their hands with an insane 5-day lead time. Ericsson, on the other hand, they were caught completely flat-footed. No backup plan. They started a slow, painful search for a new supplier, losing weeks of critical time.
The result was absolutely brutal, and it was fast. While Ericsson was still trying to figure things out, Nokia was making and selling phones. The whole story is summed up perfectly in this one quote: Nokia stole the market share from Ericsson. That single fire and that one difference in agility completely changed the course of the entire mobile phone industry.
So that's agility, right? It's about surviving that sudden punch to the gut. But what about that second day? Adaptability. This is about thriving during long-term change, not just getting through one crisis. So for this, let's look at a classic showdown. The year is 2001. Microsoft, a total rookie in the console world, decides it's going to take on the undisputed king, Sony's PlayStation 2, by launching the Xbox. I mean, this was a true David versus Goliath situation.
So let's just follow the timeline of how they pulled this off. To hit a super important Christmas deadline in 2001, their manufacturing partner Flextronics used expensive plants in Mexico and Hungary because they were fast. But then in 2002, Sony fights back with huge price cuts. This is that long-term structural shift. And in response, Microsoft and Flextronics adapted. By 2003, they'd moved their entire production operation over to low-cost factories in China just so they could compete on price.
So what was the result of that incredible adaptability? Well, by 2003, in just a few short years, the Xbox had snatched a massive 20% of the video game market right out of Sony's hands. They didn't just survive, they evolved and they took over.
Okay, so we've seen agility and adaptability. Now it's time for that final and maybe trickiest pillar, alignment. This is all about getting every single partner in your supply chain to act like they are on the same team with the same jersey.
And this comparison just says it all. I mean, it is a night and day difference. On one side, you have Toyota. They build these long-term partnerships with their suppliers based on trust. They share information, they share rewards, they work together. And then you've got Boeing's 787 Dreamliner project. They outsourced huge chunks of the plane, but the incentives were all wrong. Each supplier was motivated to cut their own costs, even if it ended up costing Boeing more in the long run. And the result of that misalignment? For Boeing, it was a catastrophe. We're talking 3-year delays and billions with a B in extra costs. Meanwhile, Toyota's alignment leads to incredible quality and lower costs year in and year out. It is a powerful, powerful lesson in why shared goals matter.
So, just having the TripleAs isn't quite enough. The real magic, the secret sauce, happens when you blend them together in a way that perfectly matches your company's core mission. This is what's known as finding the strategic fit.
When it comes right down to it, companies usually have to choose between two main paths. On one side, you have efficient supply chains. Their one and only goal is to deliver products at the absolute lowest cost possible. On the other side, you've got responsive supply chains. Their goal is to react to demand in the blink of an eye, picking suppliers for speed and flexibility, even if it's more expensive. Let's just take a super famous example, Walmart. What is their entire mission? To be the low-price leader, period. So their supply chain is an absolute masterpiece of efficiency. It is ruthlessly designed for massive scale, all to support that mission of giving you the lowest prices. That's a perfect strategic fit. That efficiency is exactly why you can go in there and find what you need at a price almost nobody else can touch. So what's the big takeaway here? A great product alone just isn't enough. Behind every single successful company is a living, breathing supply chain strategy. And that leaves me with one final question for you. Think about your favorite brand, Apple, Nike, whoever. Is their success built on being incredibly agile, remarkably adaptable, or just perfectly aligned? Because the answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about why they win